I think it's just about time to start. So if I can ask Ian Payne for a few words, and then I'll talk a bit more myself.
Yes. Hello, everybody, and welcome. Not sure I'm quite up to only using a few words, but I'll try and cut it short because there's a full agenda, as you'll have seen, and not that much time to get through it. So I'll just thank everybody in advance for contributing, and thank you all for coming. Nice to see you all, and hand back to Gordon so he can start leading you through the programme.
Right, a few practical things before we get into it. Anyone who's arrived late, this is being recorded, but if you don't speak, then your image won't be shown, and the text will also be recorded, and it'll be available afterwards for people who haven't come to this seminar, although there is going to be another seminar in another couple of weeks. If you do want to ask anything or make any points at any time, please start by putting it in the chat box rather than talking. Keep yourself muted, write in the chat box. Very often we find that people get questions answered there before they even get asked, but if not, we will either ask the question for you or call on you to do it yourself. It just helps a meeting like this, when there's so many people here, helps it go a bit more smoothly. We thought it would be a good idea to have a meeting like this, and it's been taken up so well that, as I say, we're having at least one more of them, because people are in unusual circumstances, and all of the clubs have varying circumstances themselves, whether they have their own premises, whether they have landlords, and also what sort of members they have, how their members feel about going back to live bridge. So rather than trying to lay down any kind of advice, we are here to discuss things, to share things, and we hope that all the clubs will view it in that same spirit. If you have something that you think would be useful for other clubs, then do let them know, but don't try and convince people that your way is the only way to do it. We really are finding our way around, both as an organisation and as lots of individual clubs, as to how things are going to go on for the future. So having said that, I will pass on to the first speaker, who's Nikki Bainbridge, who's done a lot of work about making LiveBridge available in difficult circumstances over the last 16 months. So Nikki, are you ready to talk? Is Nikki here? Indeed, it's difficult to see.
She is here.
She's here. Nikki, have you unmuted yourself? Let me see if I can.
Yeah, I've done it. Yes, yep. I have.
Good. Okay, Nikki, very welcome. Let's hear what you have to tell us.
Okay. I'm going to use a presentation to help keep me on track. So I'm sharing my screen. Here we go. So Face2Face is back, which I think is such brilliant news. For me, I think it's about the third time. So I'll take you through the sort of history of it, really. Last year, we were able to open in July, and we were open until October. And at that time, we were under regulation stroke guidance. The main worries at that time were transmission by touch. So we put masses of effort into cleaning and duplicating equipment and other things like that. There were social distancing rules at the time, Rule of 6 and 1 meter plus, which were intended to apply largely in domestic and party situations. Obviously, places like supermarkets and so on had different rules, and there were different rules for community halls. The guidance that came out from the government wasn't entirely clear and was rapidly updated and became almost clear by the end. But events could take place in community halls, providing that if you had groups of more than 6, they were socially distanced from each other. And that was the premise we used in designing the way that we put on our bridge. And we were one of 5 clubs that were open during that period, and we did about 28 sessions. We were open Mondays initially, and then Mondays and Thursdays. I got a lot of feedback from all sorts of places about whether I should be doing this. But my view was, if it was safe and if it was legal and if the members wanted it and understood the risks, then we should do it. And we did. And it grew slowly over the period we were opening to filling our capacity most of the time. And then at the end of October, when we had big wave number 2, we had to shut. But we came back under the plan that the government issued on step 3 on May the 17th. And we were open under those conditions until July the 19th. We're now under legal obligations. We always took it seriously, but so it didn't, to be honest, make that much difference to us. The risk emphasis had very much shifted from transmission by touch to transmission by airborne droplets. So we adjusted our risk assessment accordingly, and our venue put in additional extraction fans for us. So we had a very drafty but low risk, we felt, transmission by droplets venue. And we maintained everything that we'd been doing to contain the list of transmission by touch. So we had additional stuff, still had social distancing, still had rule of 6, still had 1 meter plus. The community halls regulation changed subtly from a maximum of 30 people at any event to a maximum of half the capacity that you had had previously, subject to a limit of 1,000, which is a pretty big community hall, isn't it? Never found out where that was aimed. And there were about 8 clubs open under those conditions during that period. So still very much in the minority. Then we had July the 19th, where all the guidance and the legal obligations were removed, but caution advised, whatever that means. There are now definitely at least 45 clubs open for face-to-face. I have a little project and I monitor club websites, and I have registered 45 clubs that have put in results for a face-to-face event. And they're offering between them over 170 face-to-face sessions. And I think, given my clubs as a sample, and every day people are telling me places are open that I haven't caught on to, I reckon it's anything up to 70 clubs are actually now open. Many of them are hybrid clubs, by which I mean they're offering some face-to-face sessions and some online sessions. Some are face-to-face only. I've been quite surprised at the number of clubs that haven't been at all active for a long time, and then suddenly boom, they're back in the hall and they're face-to-face and they've never been online. And some are remaining online only, quite a few of them. So to talk about precautions and what we did, our club room looks something like this. And we used to get 10 tables into it, which was rather cozy, but it was very nice. I don't think we will ever do that again. I think the days of 10 tables on a winter night with everything shut are over. We reduced the 10 tables to 4, thus allowing the tables to be socially distanced from each other. And we acquired Perspex screens, which we put across the tables that we were using, thus maintaining individual social distance between the players. So when the players were sat at the table, they were a metre apart, separated by Perspex, and if they got up for any reasons, they put face coverings on and remained a metre apart, separated by face masks. And we did that all the way through until July 19th, when we have removed the Perspex screens with some joy, because we were lugging them in and out of the hall twice a week, which wasn't great fun. They did cut down on noise. People tended to shout at each other, or worse still, start leaning out around the screens. I had to go and explain to 1 or 2 people that they couldn't do that, which was interesting. We only had 1 face mask conscientious objector, and when I said it was face mask or no bridge, he eventually gave in and came and wore a face mask and behaved perfectly well. But we did have 1. We opened the fire exit and the main door so that we had a good through draft down that side of the room. And I was a bit worried about the part of the room that is around the corner of the L shape, but we came up with something for that, or rather the venue people did. Our venue is a private charitable trust, and one of them at least is a very keen bridge player, so they were very helpful at getting open. And we kind of became mutually very sympathetic, because like us, they'd lost all of their income and were, you know, facing some major financial issues. That's what the room looks like ready to play from the corner. So you can see we've got the screens up, we've got everybody's bidding box, everybody takes their bidding box with them when they move, and we have individual hand sanitizers, and people took those as well when they moved. And you can see in the middle, the red pile, we had a set of boards per table, which of course is an approach you can't do if you've got a large number of tables. But if you're a small club like us with plenty of boards, it was perfectly feasible. And in fact, we've got so used to it, we're still doing it, and we've had up to 5 tables. But my husband, who does the dealing, says he's not dealing more than 5. So we will go back to moving boards once we get to 6, which is going to be next Monday. So we're quite pleased about that. We got in the habit of moving people a pair at a time. So if you were on table 4, you'd be told to move and march and go outside the main door. And then we'd move the pair up from table 3, and we'd move the pair up from table 2, and we'd move the pair up from table 1, and then they'd come back in the door. And the players got so used to that so quickly, we really didn't have to say anything much. You know, they just sort of looked up and we gave them the nod, and they would start moving one at a time, and they still do. So managing the risks, I think the key things are the social distancing. We're still telling people to stay a metre apart. We're still giving them sanitizers, and we're still telling them to move their bidding boxes, and we're still asking them to wear face coverings when not at the table, and most of them are. We're not using screens anymore, and most of them have rapidly stopped wearing face coverings at the table. We do use 90 centimetre tables now, where we used to use slightly smaller ones, so there's a little bit there. We're still putting out a set of boards per table because from habit, but we will stop doing that soon. And only North is supposed to touch the scoring tablet, although they're already starting to offer it to each other. And I think for one thumbprint, it's not worth saying, you know, don't do that. Ventilation, this rather tatty picture, it's been tidied up since, but what the venue done, the trustees, is they put a fan tray in that loft access. And we conducted tests as to how fast we could have it going and not create a noise hazard. And it goes pretty fast, and it creates a feelable draft at a level of noise that we can live with. So we have that in the L-shaped thing, so we don't worry so much about that. And we use 2 fans to keep the circulation up generally. We have people who get a bit cold, so we're going to have to think about bringing back coffee. We're not doing beverages or catering or anything at the moment, but we're going to bring them back, partly so that I can give a nice hot cup of coffee to hold to 1 or 2 ladies who get a bit cold. And we have restricted it to the double jabbed, and we've done that simply by saying don't come if you're not double jabbed up at least 3 weeks ago. Now, I've known all of my members for many years, and I don't feel the need to ask them to demonstrate that, but I have noticed that some clubs are saying you've got to bring your NHS letter that demonstrates your COVID status, which I think is a reasonable thing to do. And if we were bigger and if we were taking on new members, I would certainly do that myself. But to me, these are the key things that you've got to think about if you're going to bring people back with a clear conscience. So obviously, as Gordon hinted, you need your venue to be available. So we're lucky in that our trustees have been very supportive. We've got other halls in the area that one has issued a classic email only this week saying, well, we may take bookings in September, but don't even think about asking us about August, kind of thing. So you've got to have your venue. Players have got to want to come. I've found players are not, they're in the minority, I think. I think more players don't want to come of our club at the moment than do. But once surprising people turn up, and once they turn up and their friends hear that they're playing, they definitely then start coming, and then their friends start coming, and it does slowly climb. I've looked around at lots of clubs that are opening, and I've just had a check this morning, and there are 4 clubs that have had fields of 9 tables or more already. There's quite a lot have had 5 or 6, but it is very typical to be only getting 3 or 4 right now. But I hope people hang in. And of course, we've got the summer and all the things that happen in the summer and people catching up with family and things. So my personal view is be patient, hang in there, it will grow. You must have appropriate insurance. The EBU have got theirs, and they've got a position from their insurance company about COVID, which is much the same as any other hazard. Like we all, I'm sure, are very careful about trip hazards and food poisoning and anything else obvious that could happen. We've got to be careful about COVID. And you need the directors and so on. And I think that's going to be a big problem, because lots of people, I think, have retired. And certainly I know one big club near us has said they're having terrible trouble persuading people to come in and help. So when you take care, space and ventilation, these are my personal opinions. I think you should halve whatever your capacity was before. I think you have to open everything you've got in the ways of doors and windows. And if there isn't enough of that, look into some fans, preferably extraction fans, because droplet transmission is now, I think, seen as the main form of spread, and touching things that have been touched is much less bothered about. Make everybody keep at least 1 metre apart. Face coverings when not at the table. Most of mine are pretty good about that. And the things that are easy to do, I think it's worth still doing. So plenty of sanitizer, getting people to take their bidding boxes around with them and their sanitizer around with them, I think is great. And despite what the Prime Minister says, we have forbidden hugging. It's expressly not allowed, no matter how good that bid was. And then you've got to be able, if you are worried about something going wrong and action being taken against you, you've got to be able to demonstrate that you took care. And I think this is a 3-stage thing. First of all, you've got to decide what's appropriate for your club if you are opening. You've then got to document what you've decided is your approach. And the best way, the standard way of doing this, is to produce this document called a risk assessment. And there are some models in the EBU. It's very much up to you how you decide to manage risks, but if you acknowledge them and say how you're planning to manage them, that's a good step towards showing that you care and you're not negligent, and then deliver your approach. And I personally make a record after each session, ticking all the things that I planned to do and signing them to say that we did them. And I just wanted to sort of tell you that Kenilworth Bridge Club, who are near us, have followed very much the same approach we took prior to 19th of July. And they had an unannounced visit from Warwickshire Health and Safety, who went through what they were doing, which is very much like what we were doing, and who were happy. They didn't know what duplicate bridge was until they walked into the room, but by the time they went, they had some idea, and they were perfectly happy with Kenilworth's approach. So I think there is some evidence that taking these sort of measures makes you as safe as you can reasonably expect to be. So I'm going to try and stop the share now. I can work out how to do that.
Yep.
Okay, have I stopped?
Yes, you have.
Thank you. All right, so some questions. Shall I have a very quick look of these?
Yeah, there was one at the beginning that says that it was answered, but the rest of us may be interested, which is about difficulties for the hard of hearing lip reading. Did you experience any problems with that?
Hard of hearing, yes, when we had the screens, because the screens do interrupt sound. So there was lots of shouting, there was lots of relaying of messages by the opponent's pairs. But we got round it. Yeah, we're in Rugby, which is just outside the main town of Rugby. Is asking for double jab evidence legal? Oh.
Sorry, can I just go back to the question that I asked? It was about wearing face masks and people lip reading.
Yes.
Now, later on in your presentation, you made it clear that the masks were off at the table, which is when it's important. So that's why I said the question was answered, but it was not about hard of hearing not being able to hear. It's about the hard of hearing not being able to lip read.
Right, I understand.
So I just wanted to clarify that.
Yes, yes. And as it happened, it was not an issue for us because we didn't have anyone relying on lip reading. So,
well, I do.
You do, yeah. Well, you know, that's different. Although now, of course, you don't have to mandate face masks. Did we increase table money? Actually, the short answer to that was yes. This year we did. Last year I did loads of stuff for free because I'm sure, like everybody else, I was completely zonked and had no idea how money was going to work out. But this year's got to be a year of financial recovery. So we have put the table money up quite a bit, and not a single soul has even mentioned it, right? Yes, the HSE visit was before 19th of July. Sanitizing the bidding boxes, well, we were twice a week, right? So our approach was one person uses the bidding box each time. We then put them in a cupboard for at least 72 hours. So they are quarantined under the old rules. So we didn't sanitize them. We didn't consider that was necessary on top of quarantining. Yes, there is a sample risk assessment on the EBU website that you can download. And
yeah, I've just put a link to the page with the information on it.
Did we increase the time per round? Basically, yes. When we first started and we were concerned about how we were going to manage movements, we made the rounds 6 board rounds. So we effectively had 3 rounds. But as we got slicker and more confident in the business of moving people, we reduced that and we had 4 board rounds, and we're actually still basically on 4 board rounds now, and we kept the sessions down to 18 boards because we wanted our full master points, but then we wanted to get out of the room in case the droplets were accumulating. Is the mobile entry? Yes, it is. Yes, it is there. And we also, of course, because we are scoring the session, have an effective register of who was present. So we also obeyed the legal requirement to have our own record of who attended. So yes, both those things are true. Could I give a view of guidance about double jab restriction? Yes, okay. My approach is we send a briefing to every player before every session. And one of the things it says in that briefing is don't come unless you've been double jabbed for at least 3 weeks. I've decided not to ask my members for proof because I've known them a heck of a time, to be honest, and I trust them. And we're only a smallish club, so I do. And I would also point out that the big risk to a person that isn't double jabbed is to themselves. They are exposing themselves to the risk of becoming seriously ill or hospitalized. There is apparently a slightly increased risk that they're carrying the virus and could transmit it, but so do double jabbed people, right? So, you know, you're not free from transmission happening because everyone there is double jabbed. It can still be in the room and it can still be transmitted, which is why you've still got to take care. If a member has a medical exemption, would you allow them to come? No. Right, I'll be quite simple about that. No, I wouldn't. I'd be very sorry about that, but I don't think it would be, frankly, I wouldn't want them to take the risk. What about pinging? Yeah, we've only had 1 case of pinging so far, and the member informed me immediately. They didn't come to Bridge for nearly 2 weeks, and then they tested negative and they came back. But I do dread Jim or I getting pinged because we'll have to close. We don't do under 18s.
Right, well, we've had a lot of questions, and there will no doubt be opportunities for further questions a bit later on, but because we're slightly tight for time, I'm going to move on. Thank you very much, Nikki. I'm sure everyone has really appreciated so much information. The next thing we're going to discuss is hybrid play, and Jonathan Lillicrop is going to give us an introduction to it.
Excellent.
Jonathan.
Right. 1 second while I just bring up my slides.
It will then be followed by James Ward, who's giving an example of a very new hybrid bridge offering that is just about to become available. So, but first of all, Jonathan.
Right, so I'm Jonathan Lillicrop. I'm the English Bridge Union Club Liaison Officer. Imagine most of you have had dealings with me over the past 2 years. So obviously with lots of clubs are thinking about different approaches to hybrid bridge, and obviously the term hybrid bridge can mean a number of different things. So here's a few of the options. So I mean, actually there's one that's an obvious one that's not listed there, which is that the club may choose to carry on having some sessions that are exclusively online, and also have some sessions that are exclusively face-to-face. And obviously that's straightforward to do. If you want to, then there are some other options for trying to bring the sessions more together. So the first option on the slide is to have 2 sections, one playing online and one playing face-to-face, and you can then combine the results so that you've got an overall ranking list, and everyone can see how they've done compared to the people in both sections. Another option is that you have one section, everyone plays online, although some people might be located in the club, and obviously the people located in the club would have to be playing on a device so that they could play online. And then the third option, or the third option, is that you could have a small number of online tables added to a face-to-face session. So if most of your members are wanting to play face-to-face, but there's a few that want to play online, then that might be possible. And I'll talk about that in a minute. So I'll go into a bit more detail on each of these 3 options to explain how they might work. So firstly, so if you've got an online section and a face-to-face section, then the players in these sections would only play the other players in their own section. So those playing online would only play the other online players, and those playing face-to-face would only play the other face-to-face players. But it would have the advantage that for the face-to-face players, they would be using real cards, and indeed would be, it would be yes, they'd be using real cards. So both sections are obviously playing the same boards, so the scores can be compared. The sections can be of different sizes, and they can play different movements. I mean, obviously the limitation on that is that you obviously need to have enough people in each section to have a viable movement. Just going back to the boards, I mean, so obviously you do need to play the same boards. So you would need to have pre-dealt boards for the face-to-face, and use that same file, which would probably be a PBN file. You would load that onto BBO using a LIN file, or onto RealBridge, so that you were playing the same boards. So your online section would use one of the existing platforms, probably BBO or RealBridge. So as Gordon alluded to, there's a new system called Pianola Play, which is set up precisely for this, for having an online section and a face-to-face section. And it's also got the advantage that it will give you a live ranking list, which combines both the online and the face-to-face sections, which wouldn't be possible using BBO or RealBridge. So James James Ward from Pianola will be talking more about that after my presentation. You could also, it's also, if you are running this way with an online section, a face-to-face section, you ideally don't really want to have a sit out in both sections. So if you've got a pair who are willing to come and play, who are willing to come to the club, but then to potentially play on electronic devices from the club, then obviously if you have two half tables, then that can avoid them by that pair joining the online section from the club premises. And then so you run your two sections as normal, as you normally would. And then of course at the end you need to combine the scores. And I've created some detailed instructions on how to combine the scores using either EBU score or using BBO to XML. So there's two ways that can be done, and I've provided instructions which are, hopefully this is going to, I'm not sure if the sharing is, anyway. Can you actually see that? I'm not sure if the sharing has carried through, but anyway. Yeah, we'll provide that link afterwards. It is on the website. So that's if you're playing with an online section and a face-to-face section. Another option, as I said before, is that you have one section and all players are playing online. So you could use any of the existing platforms that you've been using before, BBO, RealBridge, DCL, etc. Some players might wish to come to the club so that they can see friends, talk, etc. But they would still play online, so they would be playing online using phones or tablets or whatever other devices. This obviously has the advantage that everyone is playing against everyone. So unlike in the other model where the face-to-face players are only playing against the other face-to-face players, here everyone's playing against everyone. And this solution also works better if you wouldn't have enough people to have both an online and a face-to-face section. There's a solution called LoveBridge, which is specifically designed for people playing online using tablets from a club premises. And this is very popular in some countries, particularly Hungary, where it was designed, but also some other countries, although it's not really taken off in the UK. And then the other option I was talking about is that if you have a face-to-face session, but you have a few people who wish to play online, then you can potentially accommodate them. The way you would do this is you would need to be playing a Mitchell movement, so with stationary north-south tables, and you could then set up a few stationary north-south tables on a platform such as BBO or RealBridge. And then at those tables, you would have a stationary north-south pair who were playing online from home. And the east-west pairs, so the moving pairs in the club, when they got to those tables, where obviously the north-south were absent because they were playing online, then east-west would need to play using a tablet or other device in the club. So they would play with a tablet for just those rounds where they were playing against the online north-south, but the rest of the time they'd be able to play with real cards. So but that would only work for a relatively small number of north-south, and you'd need to have a big enough face-to-face section for that kind of movement to work. So that's about all. I can certainly, I'm sure there will be questions, and I can certainly talk to people. Sorry, I'm trying to get out of sharing my screen so I can get back to Zoom. There we go. Oh, thank you. The host has stopped my sharing. Thank you, host. Right.
My suggestion would be that we move on to James talking, and while he's doing that, you can have a quick look, Jonathan, at the things in chat, although many of them I think are just points made rather than questions asked. And when James has finished talking, we can have more questions about all of this, if anyone has them. Yep, James George from Pianola, and currently working in conjunction with Bridgemate as well.
Hi everybody, it's nice to see some familiar faces. We've been developing Pianola Play and Bridgemate Play for the last year and a half with a view to how clubs are going to recover their table count when we are finally allowed back. But as we've been developing it, we've realised actually Bridge has probably changed forever, and I think there's many reasons why there's a place in every Bridge club's programme for some hybrid games. Think about the people we're trying to attract to the game, perhaps who have caring responsibilities, perhaps they have young kids, perhaps they're working long hours, perhaps they're infirm and can't get to the club. I think there's all sorts of reasons why you might want forevermore to have a component of hybrid games as part of your programme, so that you can not just recover from COVID, but start to grow your clubs again. So we started developing Pianola Play as a pure online platform last April, after we realised, you know, what was happening with lockdowns. And then we've also been collaborating with Bridgemate to produce a hybrid version. So anyone here who plays at a club that uses Pianola may already have played on Pianola Play as a pure online platform. But you can also, we're going to be launching it, in fact, at Eastbourne, where there are a couple of games going to be running as hybrid games at Eastbourne. So people can participate at Eastbourne without going to Eastbourne. And the way the system works is that, as Gordon said earlier, it's just like a two-section game taking place in the club, where all of the results from across the field are all merged in real time. So everybody, regardless of where they're physically located, will see their results alongside the whole field. And it will be just as if they were sitting in the club, punching their results into Bridgemates. So I'm just going to give you a very quick demonstration of the interface and how it works when you actually start a game. So I've set up a game using Bridgemate Play. So whether it's Bridgemate Play or Pianola Play, it is essentially the same software. The reason we're launching it as two is that any club that already has Pianola can use Pianola Play. If you don't have Pianola, that's fine, you can use Bridgemate Play. So it doesn't matter whether you've got Pianola or not, although you will need to be using Bridgemates. It doesn't work with Bridge Tabs or any of the other scoring systems. This is just working with Bridgemates. So I've created an online game, and you can see we've got 4 pairs ready to play. And so as the director who's about to run a game, and you might choose to have one director looking after the online section and a different director looking after the club section, or you could have, if somebody's confident enough, you could have one director looking after both sections. But I'm going to start the game. So in the online section, I'm going to freeze the pair. That's a bit like saying, you know, at 7:25, the director says, that's it. These are the number of tables we have. I'm starting the game. And if somebody walks in 10 minutes later, it's too late, the game's begun. So I've frozen the pairs, and now I'm going to go over to EBU Score. Now I've already set this up ahead of time, but you can see in EBU Score, I've created a 2-section game. So if you've ever run a 2-section game at your club, it's exactly the same. You create one section, section A, you create your second section, section B, you put in the number of tables you have, the number of rounds you want, which movement you want, and then you combine them into the combined section. Now this works with any scoring program that works with Bridgemates. So if you're using Scorebridge, it's just like running a 2-section game with Scorebridge. if you've got EBU Score, it doesn't matter. If your scoring program can run 2-section games, and if it supports Bridgemates, you can run a hybrid game. So I'm going to start this hybrid game now. As I say, I've already entered the movement for both the sections, and I'm now going to go into the Bridgemate scoring screen, just like you always would, create the database and launch BCS. So that's going to launch the Bridgemate control software. And so you've got everybody sitting in the club, ready to go. You've got everybody sitting online, ready to go. I've already uploaded the hand record, so everyone's going to be playing the same hands. And you can see that what the BCS, what the Bridgemate software has done, is it's looked and said, are there any games happening today in the online side of this? Now, there was one earlier that I did for Gordon and Jonathan and Robin, because they're going to be directing some hybrid games next week. So that's one this morning at 11:10. It's not that one, it's this one here, this afternoon game. And all you have to do is say, which is the online section? So our online section is section B. I'm going to set a 20-minute time limit, which is purely advisory. Doesn't matter if people run over because the director's in control. And that's it. Now the hybrid game is starting. So the hand record's being uploaded, the movement is being uploaded. It's running through the boards, analysing them for the double dummy analysis. And in a second, when that's completed, it will say starting hybrid game. So if I go back over here, there we go. The game has now started. So so from the club computer, with the director in the club, they've started a movement. Everyone in the club is now playing. Their Bridgemates have come alive, so they're all getting on and playing their game. Everybody online, they've got the same hands. The movement has been set, and now they just go through. So all I want to do is, I'm logged in as 8 people here, so it's a little bit confusing to try and demo this. All I want to do is show you how, let's do one no trump. What table am I on? Table 1. Let's see who's next on table 1. I'm going to do one no trump and pass, pass, pass. And pass. So we've got one no trump by North. Dotty, my lead developer's dog, is going to lead. So where's Dotty sitting? There we are. So Dotty's going to lead whatever she leads. And all I want to show you, I'm going to quickly claim as declarer. So I'm going to claim, I'm going to claim all 13 tricks because I'm a clever dog. So at the other tables, the opponents get a chance to accept or reject that claim. If they both accept it, the board is over. We move on to the next board. But what I want to show you is what's happened in the Bridgemate control software. That result is already in the Bridgemate control software. And if I go to EBU Score, if I go to EBU Score, you'll see that, what table? I forget what board number it was. Section B is the online section. And there we go, board 1, North-South 4 versus East-West 1, 1 no trump plus 6 by North. So the entire game operates just as if everybody was physically in the same premises running 2 sections. So at the end of the game, the director has no further work to do because EBU Score's already combining the results. Everybody can see on the Bridgemates, they'll be able to see the results coming in from the online players. The online players, when they're looking at the results, they'll see all the results coming in from the club, from the Bridgemates. And at the end of the session, all the director has to do is produce the UMS or P2P file and upload it to the EBU or to Pianola or to Bridgewebs or wherever they normally would. So that was really just a kind of whistle-stop tour just to kind of demonstrate the main features of how this will work. So are there any questions from anybody? Let me just come back. There we go, I'm back.
We don't seem to have any listed, but there will also be the opportunity later on. Can I just remind people, it's been mentioned a couple of times, but our trial of this is going to be on Monday and Tuesday at Eastbourne. So that's 11 days time. There are 4 sessions. You don't have to play in all of them if anyone wants to have a look and see how it works from being online. And you can find out all the information on the summer meeting webpage. So we hope that lots of you will want to play in an Eastbourne event without actually having to go to Eastbourne, and at the same time get an opportunity to see what something new looks like that may be of interest to your club. So Sam's put the link in, and there will be more detailed information there as we get closer to the time. But it's Monday and Tuesday of the week of the summer meeting.
So there's a couple of questions, Gordon, I'll just answer quickly. So
yep, sure.
Where do you upload the PBNs? So you upload the PBN to EBU Score. So when you create your 2-section game, when you go into the retrieve event details, there's a place there to upload the hand record file, the PBN file. So you upload it into EBU Score. That passes it to Bridgemate, and Bridgemate passes it to us. So that's how it's connected.
Is it the same in other scoring programs?
I'm not as familiar with other scoring programs, to be honest. If it's not possible to upload the hand records into the scoring program, it is possible to upload them directly into the Bridgemate software. Right. So as I say, it doesn't matter which scoring program you choose. And Sandra's asked what charges are made. So at the moment it's completely free, and that's because it is a new product, and we're not releasing it to the market yet. Now, EBU affiliated clubs are entitled to 12 months free use of Pianola anyway. That's just a benefit of your affiliation to the EBU. Most clubs, it's a 3-month free trial of Pianola. EBU clubs can have a 12-month free trial. And for pure online games, there are 0 additional fees to use Pianola Play. Now, there will be additional fees to use these hybrid games, and that's something that Ron at Bridgemate, the owner of the Bridgemate company, will be determining. But it will be done on a credit basis. So every board result submitted will consume 1 credit, and those credits, you'll have to purchase enough credits to support a game. So if you had a 12-table game running 24 boards, that would be 288 credits that you'd require. And I think the credits are going to be somewhere between kind of 5 and 10 pence per credit. So it's fairly minimal amount, and that will only be for the online results. There's obviously no fee for the results people are punching in at the table. So no fees for a pure online game using Pianola Play, some fees based on usage for the hybrid results that are submitted through a hybrid game. And in terms of players, your online players paying their table money, we will soon be adding the facility for players to pay their entry fee in the online environment. And that will not go, the money won't go, it's not like BBO where the money would go to us and then we give you a share. The money will go straight from the player to your bank account. So we won't be a middleman at all. And so that's how you'll be able to charge for your online players. And as Jonathan's just pointed out, you don't need to have balanced sections. In a 2-section game, just like a 2-section game in a club, you don't need the same number of tables in each section, but you do need to choose the same winner type. So if you've got a 2-winner movement in the club, you've got to have a 2-winner movement online, and vice versa.
That's great. Thank you very much, James. I think we can move swiftly on. We're close to sticking to time, but not quite there. And Jax Morecambe is going to talk about TD refresher courses. Jax, are you ready?
I am. Can you hear me?
We certainly can.
Marvellous. Hello, everyone. Hello again. I am Jax Morecambe, and I'm eBed's Education and Development Officer and in charge of running the TD courses. So it's been a really long time, hasn't it, since we've needed to open up our Laws of Duplicate Bridge, and we all need refreshing and reminding of those laws. So there are a few things that we can do for ourselves rather than formalised courses or an edition of those. I'm just going to try and share my screen and show you the page to find help initially. Hopefully you're seeing the page on the EBU website, Laws and Ethics TD Training. So there are 3 things on there that we can really start with, we can do for ourselves within our own club. And they are look at the brilliant TD videos that Gordon has previously prepared. They're all on this page. There are 6 videos you can watch, which are here. Which are the commonly occurring situations at a club night that we haven't experienced for 15 months. And so that's the first place to start. Another really helpful tool is to download a quiz. Now, a quiz was prepared and is in our eBed website also. And it was previously to be taken before you take an advanced course, but it's very useful as a refresher quiz. It has a lot of the commonly used laws, and it helps us to find our way around our law book, which we haven't looked at for a while. So you can download that from this page in your own time and test yourself with those. There are also some flow charts that some of you may have used from your previous TD training, but you haven't. If you haven't, they can be downloaded here. So there are 3 things that really we can all do within our clubs. You can get a group together within your own club if you want to do it collectively, or you can do it individually. So there's things that you can do from scratch. If you want something slightly more structured, obviously eBed offer training courses. So we don't only offer the club TD courses training from beginning to assessment. We offer refresher courses. Now this page is the course calendar where all of the formalized courses are listed, and I'm just going to take you down some of those. We have a refresher course on here. Most of our refresher courses are on demand. So if you would like your own refresher course, I really want to hear from you. Please let me know, and I will do my best to facilitate it. We can offer half-day courses or full-day courses, and they're very much an on-demand basis. The other on-demand courses are EBU school course. You can see under here that we offer that too. We can offer those in a mixture. So if you want a half-day refresher course and maybe a half-day EBU school course, however you want to structure it, just get in contact with me. We need about 8 people in order to make a course viable. So if you think you've got the demand for that, then please let me know and I'll do my best to help you. The other courses that we do offer, we've started to offer, are the online judgment ruling courses. So at the moment, that's the only remote course that we offer. And if you have some demand for virtual TDs, if you're going to continue this hybrid model and you need more help with your online directing, then that's an option available to you. We've run 2 of these, they've proved quite successful, and we're going to be running another one in November. So I'll be putting that date up on the website fairly shortly. But if you would like to undertake some online training, or if you want refreshment on judgment ruling specifically, then that's a course available to you. There's nothing to stop you taking some of the formalized courses, even if you're already a qualified director and you don't need it for full assessment. But some of the face-to-face courses, I've got a schedule on the website between now and the end of the year. Particularly the book rulings course, the first day, can also be taken as a refresher if you want to simply have those simulations and have a face-to-face book ruling refresher. There's nothing to stop you undertaking those. Once again, I have tried to geographically kind of go around the country and offer people the opportunity to access courses spread around. If there isn't a course near you and there is a demand for a course, please email me and I will do the best to facilitate that. Other courses, you may well have a shortage of county directors. I'm quite well aware that the county director training hasn't gone on now for 2 years. At the moment, we're planning a county director course for 2022 in the normal time in autumn, and advanced director training in spring and in summer. But again, if you are really keen to get some county directors trained up and you would like that pushed forward, I'll be very interested in hearing from you, because I may be able to push an advanced director training day forward and then bring the booking of the county day earlier to summer. So I really am here that I want to help. I want to facilitate anything that you want to get your clubs up and running. And so I am very interested in hearing from you if what you require can't be found either on the website through the videos and the non-interactive training, or through our own training days. So that's about it. Any questions on the TD side?
See, there are a couple of links that Sam's put in so people can find more information, which is great. And there will, of course, be the opportunity at the very end for more questions about anything that's been discussed. So unless there's anything pressing, we can just move on to the next bit. I'm sorry if I'm pushing you all through very quickly, but we do have a tight schedule and we're sticking to it at the moment, which is great. Next person to speak is Tim Anderson, who's talking about marketing and recruiting new members. Tim is our Membership Development Officer. Tim?
Hello, hello everybody. My name, as Gordon has said, is Tim Anderson. I'm Membership Development Officer for the EBU. I'm also a keen bridge player and a member of a club in Winchester, and I'm going to be talking with both hats on today. We have a group of about 20 novice players at our club in Winchester, and they absolutely love the game. I'm going to say a bit more about them later, but I mention it now because it's been incredibly rewarding bringing new people into bridge and seeing the fun they have, and every session seems to bring up new challenges, plenty of mishaps, and it's all part of the adventure. They really love it. We know from our experience everywhere that where bridge is enthusiastically promoted, carefully taught, there is very strong demand. But of course, getting all the pieces in place is challenging, and some areas are much more difficult than others. The EBU is very conscious of the demographics of our membership. Our average age is somewhere in the 70s, and some of our smaller clubs face the challenge of either bringing in new members or closing or merging with another club. And for the last few years, we've worked on communicating the urgency of recruitment to our clubs and supporting them in the task of marketing, teaching, and then making the tricky transition for those learners from classes to the main club sessions. We are aware that it's not just a matter of teaching more bridge, but also helping clubs to be enjoyable places for novices to play, with friendly directors and members who understand that novices make more mistakes, sometimes inadvertently break the rules, and to treat that sensitively and sensibly. Recruitment is not just a matter of persuading people to turn up at our clubs, but also about making our clubs even more lovely and enjoyable places to be, and benefiting from what, to our mind, is the best recruitment method of all, which is word of mouth. So all of that remains true now, but then we had the pandemic and we had lockdown, and many things have changed. It is not all negative. Bridge has been a fantastic pastime for lockdown, and enormous energy from the bridge community has gone into the online game with new and improved bridge platforms, help for members who struggle a bit with the technology, and transforming face-to-face competitions into online events that have sometimes proved more successful than before because there's no need to travel or find a suitable hall. And I think county events are some that have particularly benefited from that, certainly in Hampshire where I am. Nevertheless, it's also been a struggle. Looking at our numbers for last month, I see that just over half as many EBU members played in sessions as they did in June 2019, when we did not know anything about pandemic. What have those missing members been doing? Some of them did not want to play online. Some of them did not know how. Some of them did not feel they had the opportunity if their regular club was no longer meeting. Others would have played, but not in EBU sessions. So what does that mean for marketing and recruiting new members now when we're beginning to think about restarting? I think first we have to acknowledge that, never mind recruitment, we face real challenges simply getting our previous members to return. In Winchester, where I live, we have 3 clubs in the same town. Winchester Bridge Club, which is my main club, has 2 sessions a week. Badger Farm Bridge Club and Badger Farm Acol Club, which are different clubs, each have 1 session a week. And prior to lockdown, each of those sessions in those different clubs was typically between 7 to 10 tables, a little smaller for Badger Farm Acol Club. As it happens, all those 3 clubs have restarted. And for the first face-to-face sessions, there were just 2.5 or 3 tables at each. I am sure numbers will creep up as people begin to feel more confident, but it is a long journey back. And no doubt the picture nationally as to how the pandemic progresses or hopefully ebbs will make a difference to how ready people are to return. But where is everybody? Why did they not all come back to things as they were before at our sessions? It is a combination of factors. There is anxiety, understandable anxiety about whether it is too soon to return. That's high on the list. And that is a personal decision. But there is more as well. A lot has happened in a year and a half. It's not as if we can step back in time and pretend otherwise. Partnerships have been disrupted. Transport may be more difficult. And as ever, patient work, contacting people and encouraging and supporting them will be rewarded. Well, many aspects of marketing a bridge club and recruiting new members remain the same now as they were before. We do have a lot of resources on this, including a dedicated website, and I encourage you to contact me if you'd like to know more. My email is easy to remember, tim@ebu.co.uk. At this meeting, though, I do want to talk about things that are different. And the big deal here is the online factor. I promised to tell you more about our group of novices at Winchester. We are fortunate to have a relatively large group keen to play bridge. And during lockdown, they've been playing online on Thursday evenings in supervised or gentle play with 4 or 5 tables. At our club pre-lockdown, we used to run a supervised bridge session on a Monday evening. And our club's first instinct following the government's lifting of restrictions was to ask our novices to transition to face-to-face on Mondays. On our first Monday, just 1 of them turned up. The second Monday, 3 of them turned up, and with our supervisor, they played a game with the 4 of them. We were naturally worried about losing this group. We put on an online session, and last Thursday we got 5 full tables, all of these novices and in our novice group. This seems like a good illustration of how online bridge does not easily always translate to playing face-to-face. What went wrong? Why did our online novices not turn up on a Monday? Well, someone can play on Thursdays, but not on Mondays. Another gets home from work in time to play online, but not in time to travel. There is more, though. There are people who have learned bridge online and have never held a hand of cards at a bridge table. Of course, we are ready to help, but I think we need to run a specific session on the mechanics of how to play face-to-face with people who are perfectly competent at playing bridge online, but have never used a bidding box or moved from one table to another. It is still not that simple. We have had considerable success online, having novice pairs join one of our main sessions online. We did have 2 such sessions, now we have 1. And it seems that the classroom to clubroom transition is easier in an online context. The environment is familiar, and if you can cope with perhaps not getting a very good score, it seems to be quite comfortable, less intimidating than moving from a more social, gentle duplicate to what may seem like a very serious club session face-to-face, where it feels like any slight misdemeanor is frowned upon. Similarly, we are discovering that transitioning from online to face-to-face is itself challenging, even when moving from a gentle duplicate online to a gentle duplicate face-to-face. We can address this in part with some special sessions, but I think we also need to reflect and think, well, maybe this group just prefers playing online, and we should not try and force them in a direction that they do not want to go in. If nothing else, I hope that the lockdown period has shown us that online bridge is still bridge. It is not quite the same as face-to-face bridge, but neither is it radically different. And at our club, we'll be making the same journey as others, playing some bridge at our lovely premises, some online, and some hybrid sessions too. We have also discovered that the online environment is in many ways better for teaching a novice play than face-to-face. Whole categories of error, such as insufficient bids, playing out of turn and revoking, are eliminated. Movement happens automatically. The system automatically records not only the score and the hands, but also the exact bidding and play. And you can review later exactly where things went right or went wrong. You can also speak at a table, presuming you have video and audio as we do, and not be heard at any other table. A supervisor can stop play and talk about what to do next or what the best thing to do is, and not be heard by anybody else. It would be foolish for us to ignore these advantages. I realize that as a bridge community and as a bridge club, we've landed ourselves with a new category of problem: how our clubs flourish in a scenario where some play online, some play face-to-face, and some do both. The issue of transition from online to face-to-face will not go away. And of course, there is also a group of members who prefer to play only face-to-face, and that is fine too. We love them just as much. Accommodating all these different needs and preferences is going to be a challenge. But another way of looking at it is that the advances in online bridge and our familiarity with it has given the bridge community some great opportunities to bring new people into the game. I think we should focus on that as an opportunity and learn together about how to make the most of it. And needless to say, I'm keen to hear from others about their tips and experiences, either now or by contact later on. It's fine. So that's the end of my piece. Any questions or comments on that? Because I'd love to hear from other clubs.
We don't seem to have any questions lined up. If we don't get any in the next minute or two, probably the best thing is to move on to Douglas Wright, because what he's talking about is also about recruitment in a different way. And then it may well be that the two, having heard the two pieces, will prompt some questions for both of you afterwards. So unless there's anything that anyone, if you want to ask something, put it in the chat now quickly, and otherwise we'll move on to Douglas, and then there'll be an opportunity again for people to ask things both of Tim and of Douglas. Douglas, are you ready?
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Douglas Wright. I have the pleasure of running what's called a teaching school, a bridge teaching school. And I'm probably referred to as the headmaster, and I have a whole bunch of teachers, as well as a curriculum which follows the Bridge for All program, which the EBU have kindly provided. And we, over the last 16 months during the pandemic, have learned so much about teaching. We've had the pleasure of teaching groups of beginners, raw beginners, the improvers who wanted to continue learning from doing their normal face-to-face lessons to transitioning to online, and also teaching some advanced lessons as well. Obviously that's insufficient, because what's vitally important is to get everyone playing. And obviously we ran supervised play sessions, assisted pairs, teams, and a fabulous way of playing one social four against another social four. All of that online. We now have this wonderful dilemma of going back to face-to-face. And I'd like to talk about the recruitment aspects. Recruitment continued during the pandemic. We, like Tim has explained, recruited brand new people to the game. We had a group of 16 people, a group of 12 people, and a group of 4 brand new beginners. They've finished their first year course. Nearly 100% of them are continuing from September onwards. And we have the dilemma of continuing online or taking their preferences, needs into account to move them into face-to-face as well. When we started teaching online, we basically guaranteed everybody that if they came to learn with us, that we would transition them to their local groups and their local clubs at the end of their learning, during their learning. No matter what time they join us, they will want to meet up socially. And that is what we enable as well. Okay, I'd like to show you a few things, if I may. Oh, no, just before I do that, can I ask a question? And I just need a show of hands or what's called a thumbs up on the Zoom screen, a reaction button. You all run clubs. You're all associated with clubs. Can you please show a hand or a thumbs up whether you recruited any new players to the game over the last 16 months, please? Let's have a look. Show of hands. Great. Jax, Paul, Sue, Simon, Judith, Kathy. Brilliant. Julia, Julian, Nikki, Ian, Stephen, absolutely fab, and a few more. Val, Sati. Okay, well done everybody, because what has tended to happen is that the majority of clubs have focused on looking after their existing players. I take my hat off to those clubs that have recruited new players. And we now have the job of continuing that task of recruiting new players. And I'm going to just share a screen now, if I may. And you can now see it, and I'm going to move it so you can see the whole of it. Good. And I'm showing one county screen. And I hope Trevor, who's on this meeting, doesn't mind me showing Surrey County screen, because Surrey County are focusing on, one, learning and improving. And if we just click on learning and improving, they have information for anyone who wants to come to this game. Do you want to learn to play bridge? Do you want to improve your game? There is a simple path for anybody looking to play this wonderful game. Also, what Surrey have done is, if I go back to this homepage on Surrey, then latest newsletter to everybody. All members within Surrey. There is information that Surrey are doing to try and recruit new players to the game. And you can obviously every county, every club can copy this sort of information to recruit new players. There's the learning and improving section. And one of the key things which I have found during the pandemic, which has proved successful, is people don't know what it's like to play online. People do not know what it's like to play face-to-face, but just give them a taster session. It can be a beginner taster session. It can be an improver taster session. All you've got to do is click on these links and your friends can come and have a beginner taster session or an improver taster session. And in essence, what I'm suggesting is that we can work together with all clubs to run these taster sessions and then to enable those individuals who do start learning to then go back to their local clubs, local groups through a process of supervised play sessions, gentle duplicate sessions, etc., etc. Obviously, if I click on a beginner taster session, I'm just going to show you something first. The emphasis of Three Counties Bridge is to recruit people to the game. Why play bridge? What makes bridge brilliant? Nice video. Click on taster sessions. It's quite straightforward. Anyone can come to this website and click on it, and it's very straightforward. You click on a beginner taster session and you can just register at one of the many taster sessions which are being run prior to what I refer to as the academic year. There are different standards of taster sessions. If I go to here, well, yes, there's the classic beginner online taster. There's learn or play online taster session for players not online. We can still get players online if you wish. And there's obviously taster sessions for LearnBridge online taster session for players who do play online, but who wish to improve in order to join your duplicate sessions, etc., etc. What are we doing with Surrey? I'll just go back to Surrey here and the newsletter. It's somewhere. We are advertising across Surrey. We're advertising in local magazines, for example, Round and About. There are 8 different areas which these local magazines cover. And we're putting in not only an advert, but also ramblings about what each of the clubs are doing during the month of September. From experience, I can guarantee that the parish magazines are brilliant. I always advertise in parish magazines on an annual basis, and they just attract new people to the game, as long as they've got a taster session to go to. And then there's obviously the local papers. In our case in Surrey, we've got what's called the Herald, which covers lots of regions. In order to complete the process, obviously, when they come to their taster sessions, we then have a full program of online courses. Now, this is a decision we've made, and I'm not sure if it's the right one. We've been teaching lots of stuff online over the last 16 months. And our view is that there will be a continual demand for a full program of online learning. In addition, there'll be some face-to-face learning for those when they are ready to get together in their social groups. And that is how we are accommodating the recruitment and learning for the clubs in the future. I think I've probably said enough. If you have any questions, by all means, put them into the chat function. Thank you for stopping the share.
There's one question there from David about whether your sessions are open to people outside your area, Douglas.
The answer is a categoric yes. We have individuals from Crete, individuals from Wales, individuals from Scotland. I do not have any limit geographic. Time zone wise, obviously, sometimes there's an issue in accommodating time zones, but there is no limit geographically.
Excellent. Any more questions either for Douglas or for Tim, who spoke beforehand about recruitment, promotion?
Thank you, Richard, for your very kind comment.
I think we will all take away the phrase taster session from Douglas's speech. That's clearly very important. If there aren't any more questions from this, we will move on to the next topic, which is online payments, and Jonathan Lillicrop is going to talk about that for us.
Thank you. Right, this is the last topic, and then it will be open questions. So let me find the right thing to share. Here we go. So this is the topic which obviously lots of people have been thinking about, both through the pandemic, with how to collect money for sessions that were being held online. And then as we go back to face-to-face now, with clubs wanting to move away from cash and to have cashless payments. So there's really two parts to this, this puzzle. The first being to track how many games a person has played. And then the second is obviously collecting the money. So there are a number, and the page I'm sharing talks about some ways of doing these various things. So to the collecting the money part, the way that is perhaps simplest and generally doesn't have any fees is for people to use bank transfer, and it may not make sense for them to do a bank transfer every time they play. So it may make sense for them to transfer an amount of money, and then for the club to track that they have a balance, and then after they've played X number of times, then that has used up their balance, and then the player can transfer some more money. So that's how some of these systems work. Others do work on a basis where you buy a ticket for an individual session, and you pay for each session. So I've put some information on this page, yes, I mean, as you can see, there's a number of systems here which different clubs are using. The Brian Mass one has been designed by Victor Lesk. That one, from the clubs that I've spoken to who use it, I think it's very good. The scale of charges may mean that it suits larger clubs more than smaller clubs. The Bridgewebs, obviously a lot of clubs use Bridgewebs, so that may be, and they have now added on a service where people can, which tracks the number of times that that people have played and can manage payments and fees. And again, there's some more details on that on the Bridge website. Unfortunately, I can't really demonstrate any of these because, well, obviously I don't have access to any club's account. And even if I did have a club who was willing to share, they can't really share very much because obviously there would be personal details. So I would, if this is of interest, I would recommend having a look at this page. There is, as I say, there is information about different systems here, and for some of them, like for Spade Tickets here, Basingstoke have kindly written an article about their experience, and as you can see, I've put links to further details. So there's a number of different systems, and there's also some information down here. This is sort of pre-COVID, so it was written with a slightly different view of things, but it may still be of interest. So we'll include this link in the information that we'll include this link on the website when we put up the video afterwards, and I will also put it in the chat now. But both on this presentation and on my previous presentation about hybrid, if people have got further questions, then please do email me and we can follow up offline. Or if it's a question that's going to be of relevance to lots of people on the call, then please do ask now as well. So I can see someone's put, does Bridgeweb's charge? I believe that, well, let me just look at that information. So what it says on their page is, if the club would like to try out the attendance module, which is what they're calling their new module, please contact Bridgeweb to be added to the trial. If the club wish to continue using the attendance module after the trial, there will be an additional cost of the equivalent of £2 to £3 per month added to the subscription at renewal. This is necessary to cover the increase in database processing costs, increased use of email and general support. Yeah, so Ian's question about Square. So when we just go back so that I can just share my screen again so you can see what that relates to. So I think when we have spoken to both Square and Stripe directly, they have said that they can't provide services to bridge clubs because of concerns over gambling, and we have explained that bridge is skill-based and it isn't gambling, but they have not been they haven't been able to accept that, and obviously some of these other systems like Spade Tickets use Stripe in the background. And that doesn't seem to have been an issue, possibly because the relationship isn't with Stripe directly. I think some clubs may have set up relations with Square or Stripe sort of before this came to light, and they said this to us a couple of months ago now, I guess. So if you're still using those services and they haven't been in contact, then that's probably fine.
If I can just say that when I contacted them, it was because they had turned down a club who had just applied, and although they were determined not to review this, I had heard that there were some other clubs who had successfully got an arrangement with them, and I didn't particularly want to try to jeopardize their situation. So I didn't name any of the clubs that they did have it with in case that had the reverse effect. But it's actually now quite a number of months ago, and I think that if you have an ongoing relationship with them, it's not likely that they're about to suddenly change it. It's the instance of new clubs trying to get one. Don't be surprised if they say no. And of course, if you want to try and argue it, I'm happy to support you in doing that, as I did with previous clubs, but I don't hold out too much hope for it. I think it's, as is often the case, it depends a little bit who is dealing with it and who you speak to. And I didn't succeed in speaking to anyone who would listen to my points.
Thank you, Gordon. I think that's probably all I have to say. So I suggest at this point we open up for general questions. I think we've already responded to most of the ones in the chat.
I've got one that I think has possibly just come to me, which is about videos talking about what a great game bridge is. And we did produce some videos at the start of lockdown, and the aim of them was to encourage people to share the game socially with their friends or whatever, possibly playing on BBO and Zooming at the same time, that kind of thing. So we'll try and find the link to those and put it up while people are answering other questions, if anyone is interested in that. There's a question. Oh, James has answered that question. So I'll try and find the videos if other people want to carry on with further questions and discussion.
So Trevor asked, will the link to the recording of the meeting be emailed? Sam, will you just be putting it on the website, but you'll put a link from the front page so it's obvious? Is that the plan?
Sorry, say that again, please.
Oh, no, there was just a question as to whether you're going to email the link to everyone or just put it on the website.
I'll do both.
Okay, great.
If we are not going to have more questions,
there's one, Gordon,
there are some coming up. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's one, Gordon, from Neil Higgins about risk assessment. I'm not sure if you want to have a look and speak to that one.
We do have, I'm trying to see it. I'm trying to do
331.
Too many things at once. We do have a couple of risk assessments. We've certainly got one and a new one about to. No, we've got two up there. One that was originally provided by Nikki Bainbridge and another one from Clacton Bridge Club that give examples of them. I'm just trying to see what the actual question was. Anyone read it out to me?
Yeah, okay. So Gordon, so Neil said, Gordon, I agree that each club should generate their own risk assessment. However, it'd be very helpful if the EBU could provide some strong pointers, e.g. recommended that only double jab players should be allowed to attend face-to-face with further guidance about under 18s.
Okay, well, this is a very useful point, although I'm not going to answer it in the way that you want me to, because I was going to say when we sum up that we are always very conscious of the fact that clubs are their own entities and they make their own decisions. And in providing this seminar, we're not telling clubs what they should do or even recommending particular things. We're trying to present all the discussion and ideas as they have arisen and let clubs make up their own mind. So it follows from that that if somebody has said something, recommended something here, it doesn't necessarily follow that the EBU is saying this is the way it has to be done. We're saying here are the ideas, here is something to be considered. So no, we don't have recommendations about double jabs or under 18s. as an organisation, we of course are very supportive of having under 18s, and for our own events, because they are large, we're not expecting to require double vaccination, but the situation of clubs is quite different, and one club may differ from another. The concerns of your members may well differ. So please do make your own decisions. Do ask people more, if the people who've spoken here, if you want to find out more from them about their reasons. But we're not going to try and promote a one-size-fits-all solution to getting back to play.
You might also ask members of your clubs. I mean, that's the simplest way. If you ask and 90% of them say, we want everybody to be double vaccinated, that's up to them. If 90% say they don't care, then you go that way. Might be the best solution.
Just to answer a couple of other questions that have come in. The arrangement with the EBO that 70%, at the moment, well, Gordon has been in contact with them, but certainly at the moment our expectation is the 70% rate will be continuing.
Yes, there's been no suggestion from them of it being any different, and they would need to give us 6 months if they were going to change it. So I think that will just be carrying on as it is.
I imagine with increased competition from Real Bridge and Pianola Play and everyone else, they would probably be ill-advised to try and ask for a higher percentage.
So the answer to about videos, I've put a link and it will take you to our YouTube channel, and you'll see that there were six different videos that we made. Very short and lively, and really just meant to inspire people, not meant to show you how to do anything, but give you a couple of ideas about how you might try to get people without having to meet them in person. We don't know how many people actually took it up, but I do know some did.
In response to Sandra's question, so Sandra was saying, what's the EBU's views on smaller clubs getting together to run a combined hybrid session with one club doing the online and one doing the face-to-face? So certainly you could do that. I'm not sure if you meant having separate online and face-to-face sessions. I suspect you do on different days. But yes, certainly you could do that.
Sounds like a good idea, and it's one of the things that has definitely happened during lockdown, is that there's been cooperation between clubs in a number of instances, and it may well be that that continues going forward, that clubs see that they can work well together to everyone's benefit. So I think we would encourage people to at least consider the idea.
Paul Ricard asked, is the club's insurance valid if we do not insist on face coverings? So the EBU insurer, which quite a number of clubs have insurance through, have said that basically that a club is, I'm paraphrasing because I don't have it right in front of me, but that a club will be fine, or that the insurer would back them, provided they've followed all the government's guidance. So we're no longer.
Yes, as long as you're not negligent. Of course, it can be a little bit difficult defining exactly what the government regulations do say, but as long as you're within them, then you're unlikely to risk a problem from an insurance point of view.
Ladies and gentlemen, Douglas speaking. I've just raised a hand, but people may not be able to see a raised hand because there's so many participants on the meeting. I'd just like to share with you that in terms of return to face-to-face, I attended a superb Cafe Bridge event last week in East Molesey, where 69 pairs travelled around 11 restaurants and had a superb day of bridge and raised more money for charity than they did when they were face-to-face, with only 2/3 of the players. congrats to the Cafe Bridge world returning face to face.
Excellent.
And
Thank you.
I will plug Guildford Cafe Bridge is being run on 7th of October. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul asked about future plans for national online competitions or congresses. I presume that that question is relating as to whether we intend to have them face-to-face or online. As you'll be well aware, Eastbourne is being held face-to-face, and the intention is for congresses to return face-to-face. There are some events which are more naturally suited to being online. Things like the Tollemache qualifier, where there are people coming from all over the country, and with it being teams of 8, it's very difficult to find a hotel that's got enough space, and also that, and obviously people, wherever you have it, some people end up traveling a long way. So events like that obviously are more suitable for being played online, and the intention is that the Tollemache qualifier, as an example, will continue online. So some of the county representational events are likely to continue online because it's more practical, but the intention is that the congresses will be returning to face-to-face. Gordon, do you wish to say anything further on that?
No, we're discussing at the moment exactly what will be online and what is not, but it's clear that there will be more online than was before. And we were already moving a little bit towards online. We were certainly trying to move towards online on BBO, which is one of the reasons why we were able to act very swiftly at the start of the pandemic. So those games were in the pipeline already. We wouldn't have got them quite as quickly, and they probably wouldn't have taken off quite as much had that not been the case. But we will certainly be carrying on running them in as much as there's a demand for them, because we feel we have a lot of feedback that suggests that while people would much rather play live, most people would rather play live in their own club, there are many occasions when they can't do that. And in those circumstances, they would rather play something online than not be able to play at all. So one of the examples is if people are too ill to get out and drive and go to a bridge club, they may well still feel up to playing and play online. So online is here to stay, but we don't know exactly how much. There's a question here from Axe Virtual Bridge Club, and I'm not quite sure. It's Jeff Davis. Do you want to explain what it is that we are not doing? Because I'm sure.
I can. Well, I'm aware of the background. So. Okay.
Do you want to answer it or tell me?
Yeah. So there's three clubs playing as one for the purposes of online. I mean, we can discuss offline, Jeff, potentially what you would like to achieve. We can.
Because we do have other groups of 3 clubs that have been acting together online for the last year or so without any problems. So I'm just slightly surprised that.
I suspect the question is that they would like something different to work with, that different to happen with the finances. But I suggest we discuss it offline.
Okay, happy to do that.
There was a question. Just looking back, there was a question about Greenpoint events. Now, Greenpoint events are usually Swiss, and Swiss doesn't work so well for doing a hybrid event where you have a face-to-face section and an online section, because where you've got a face-to-face section and an online section, the people in one section can't play the people in the other section. And obviously at the top of a Swiss field, we would expect the top 2 pairs to play each other. Which wouldn't be possible if one pair was face-to-face and the other was online. So the question was why Greenpoint events weren't being run in that way, and I think that would be one of the reasons for not doing it.
There's a further question about Greenpoint events being online that is also under discussion. A subgroup of the board is looking at it, and that's the question that if something is run online, its constituency is the entire country, which means that clashes between counties exist far more. And for that reason, there may well be some restriction on how many Greenpointed events are able to be run online. If it's a complete free-for-all and you're allowed to run whatever you want, we suspect that there will be far more clashes and conflicts between counties than there have been in the past, and even in the past it's not always been smooth running. So this whole question is being looked at, and these are the kind of unexpected consequences of moving to online. We never anticipated that these problems would arise, but they have done, and we are looking at them. There was a question about unethical behaviour, and it has certainly been a huge problem over the last 16 months. It's one that we've addressed very firmly, as you will no doubt have seen, and we do think that we've made it clear to people that they can't expect to get away with it. We also see technological advances that seem to have helped a lot. RealBridge, for example, the fact that you can see your opponent, see your partner, does seem to have made a very big difference. We haven't actually yet had a single case or even a credible accusation of anyone doing anything unethical. If by unethical we're talking about cheating, if we're talking about something else, then that may be a different matter. If we're talking about bad behaviour, I'm afraid bad behaviour manages to find a way in most environments, but hopefully not too much. So yes, cheating has been a huge problem. We do think that we are getting it under control, but it probably isn't going to go away entirely. Somebody's saying that on BBO, director can't see table chat. Well, actually they can. If it's a virtual club or it's an EBU game, they certainly can see the table chat after the event. Any director who wants to know about that, they can contact us afterwards, and we can explain to them how they can do this. It's very useful to be able to see the logs. Have I missed any?
No, I think we've responded to all the. All the questions.
Right. Well, if that's the case, one more message has just popped up. Okay, so I know Hillary's made a comment further up above. Let's have a look and see if we can find that.
It was Hillary said, running online and BBO for a while with same deal, but not combining events, as one to distinguish the separate events to show the payment rate as naught for BBO and £3 for face-to-face to accommodate the attendance module. Okay. I'm not sure why, if you're using the same deals and playing at the same time, I'm not sure why you couldn't combine the results, but then I haven't used the attendance module, so possibly there's something I'm overlooking.
May I speak?
Yes, go ahead.
We've been testing the attendance module, and by the way, that's the Bridgwaite Sun, and it seems to work fine, and we're going live with it next month, so fingers crossed. But it does mean the only way we've thought of to be able to, if we've got two events, one online and one BBO, sorry, one online and one face-to-face, somewhere or other we have to identify how much we charge for the event. And if they're combined, we'd have to charge everybody for the event, and we don't want to charge the online players because they're getting charged through the BBO system in the normal way.
I understand. Could you put up separate results and for charging purposes, and then also put up a combined result?
I don't know. I suppose that's really what my question is. Yeah, I mean, I can think about that, but that was our immediate thought, was that we wouldn't be able to combine them.
I think you could probably put up separate results, which was just each section, which could be used for the charging, and then as a third result, you could put up a combined result.
Okay, we'll have a look at that. Thank you.
Yeah.
And may I just make one more comment? I just wanted to thank Nikki for the risk assessment, which we've used already, and I'll be making a few changes to before Monday as a result of the comments that she's made. So thank you for that.
Excellent. We've got one question from Val about how much Brian payment system costs. Do you know, Jonathan?
I think there are some details on the Brian's website. I was just getting it up.
While you're looking at that, can I take the opportunity to thank everyone very much, those of you who've come from clubs, for supporting this and showing that it was a worthwhile venture to have this seminar. There will be another one in a couple of weeks or so for those who haven't been able to come today. And a very big thank you to all of the people who spoke for giving their time, their knowledge, their expertise. I think everyone will agree that it's been extremely interesting and thought-provoking. So just before a final thank you, final goodbye, Jonathan, have you got anything, or shall we
no,
see if we can find?
I think he's updated his website and I can't immediately see, so it
may just be a good idea to contact Brian directly. He's always very helpful and friendly, and then you'll be able to get all the information that you want. So try that. And there we are. Thank you very much, everyone. Hope you've enjoyed it, and good luck with getting back to whatever form of new normal your club takes. We don't expect everyone to end up in the same place at all, but we hope that you've got ideas that will help you make the decision and have the discussion with your members. Thank you.
Thank you all.